You know the vibes. Welcome back to the Hoop Genius podcast. Man, I've missed this. I've missed you guys tuning in. BJ, I would say I missed you, but I saw you just a few days ago out in Paris. How have you been?
Oh, I've been beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Paris was sensational. Mo, great to see you. Hey, all of the fans, all of our listeners who came up to you and I and said, "You know the vibes."
The real
That
MVPs.
was great. And that was great. Yeah, those guys, they are the real MVPs. Incredible time there. The NBA did another amazing job. The teams, the Detroit Pistons, the Chicago Bulls. It was great, and all the stars were there. Mo was there, and it was incredible. Mo was shining. Mo was shining amongst the stars. He was shining.
Hey! Don't gas me up. Good. Don't gas me up. Shout out to everyone who pulled up. Shout out to Daniel Slowinski and Sam Chadwick who tweeted us a picture. They went to meet BJ at one of the activations that was going on out there. And they got the BJ Armstrong autograph on the gold Wilson basketball, which I think is pretty cool. Shout out to NBA Top Shot who took them there. Shout out to all the fans, everyone showing love. We were back on TV as well. It's been a while since we did that, and the response on social media was crazy. So shout out to everyone showing love. We just need you guys to keep showing love. But, I feel like for me, the new year never really begins in January because, of course, the NBA launches All-Star voting, so I do some stuff with them, and then we have NBA Paris. And so for me, the year really starts in February because January is just a whirlwind. February is like the fresh start. Okay, here we go. And speaking of the new year starting, what BJ and I are really trying to do this year, we're trying to grow this podcast. I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and he said to me, Mo, you have the best podcast in the world when it comes to basketball. The only problem is, unless you know about the podcast, there's nowhere that people can see it. You guys need to get out there and, get more eyes and ears on the show. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to expand the team. We're looking to recruit somebody who can come and join the squad and help us grow the show. Now, before I put it out there to the public, I thought, our beautiful listeners who tune in and rock with us on a regular basis, I got to give it to you first. I got to give you guys the opportunity. So if you feel like you're someone who has your finger on the pulse of what goes on in the world of basketball, what makes a great show, you have editing skills, you have production skills, or whether you're working on those skills or you have them already, I want to hear from you because we're looking for someone to join the team and really help us grow this show. We want to be 10 times bigger by the end of this year, but we can't do it alone. So we're going to need all of your guys' help by sharing the show and showing love. But if you feel like this is something that interests you, the chance to work with an NBA legend and BJ Armstrong.
Yeah, I was like, where's the legend at?
I'm just playing. Where's the legend?
I'm not playing. I was like, who's the legend? Who's the legend?
If you want a chance to work with us and help us on this mission to keep it 100 in the media space, because you know how we do. It's all about keeping it real over here. So if you feel like that helps you and you want to help the show, send me an email at mo@hoopgenius.com with some of your previous work and why you think you'd be a great fit to work with us. We will review the applications in due course. But, whether it's yourselves or someone that you know who's a fantastic editor, who can make clips for social media, who can make this podcast into YouTube videos, and come up with good ideas for us to talk about on the show, we would love to hear from you because BJ and I, we had some conversations out in Paris and last year was good. We had 225 episodes of great content, but this year, we want to take it to a whole nother level. So that way, next time NBA Paris comes over, we can tell the NBA, we need 100 seats. We bring in 100 of our fans with us. We want to raise the levels. BJ, anything you want to say to that?
Let's get it. I mean, it was great. I think we missed. Did we miss NBA UK or no? I mean, the NBA UK. Did we miss the NBA when they came to London because of COVID?
No, the NBA came to London last time, I believe, was 2019. And then 2020 was Paris. And then 21 and 22 was cancelled due to the pandemic. And then 23, we back outside. Who knows where next year's going to be? Who knows what's happening next January? I can't say anything right now, but stay tuned. Stay ready.
That's that way you don't have to get that way you don't have to get ready.
That's what it's all about. But yeah, we were out in Paris. We missed a couple of weeks of the podcast, and we managed to link up in Paris. We didn't manage to tape a show out there. We're going to be back going full force from February the 1st onwards, or from next week onwards. This is just a little one to keep you guys going and to just update you, you know. BJ, how was Paris overall as an experience for you? First time back in Europe in a while. The fans were showing love, but you were amongst a few other legends. You know, Ben Wallace was there, Rip Hamilton, Joakim Noah, Luol Deng, Magic Johnson. What was it like catching up with some old friends?
Well, it's always great to see the guys, you know, Irvin, Magic Johnson was there. You see, the guys. I don't see them as much other than events like this All-Star Weekend. But it was just great for us to be out. I mean, Mo, I haven't been out, as you know, in really a couple years, especially abroad. So for our family, fortunately, my family was able to come. It was great to get out. Paris is an amazing city and amazing place. So it was good. The NBA just does. I'm always amazed at first of all the fans and the participation. You just never know who's listening. Well, I can tell you this, Mo. Now I have a better idea who's listening abroad, and that was great to see the response. And wherever I went, literally people would come up and just say, the vibes. And that just, my wife was like, what's going on? Why are these people shouting at you? I was like, you got to tune in. You got to tune in. Like people just, we're at the Eiffel Tower and people go, the vibes. And I just started laughing. So that's great to see. Yeah. And I thought the NBA did an incredible job. And we had a lot of fun. You and I, a lot of laughs, as we always do. We did our theme for, television, and we got a good game. So,
but it was, your Detroit Pistons, did it make it extra special?
Oh, it did, Yeah, I got a chance to see, it was two things that happened in Paris that was really funny. The vibes, just, I mean, that's just, I couldn't believe that. And then I remember I was somewhere in Paris and someone came up to me and said, "What up, Doe?" And then it just made it feel at home. It was just like somebody said, "What up, Doe?" And I said,
yes,
"What?
Sir.
Where am I?" I had to like pinch myself. And it was some Detroit people there. So I had a great time. It was good to see a lot of people I haven't seen in a while. And a lot of people from Chicago, a lot of people from Detroit. And it felt like home, those, I was born in Detroit and, played in really my whole adult life. I was more or less in Chicago. So what a great time. And then to be in Paris with the family, going around, seeing all the sights. It was great.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Did you ever have the chance to play overseas during your career?
No, I didn't play it or participate in a regular season game abroad. I'm trying to think that I don't even think I played any exhibition game. I may have. But in as a collegiate athlete, I played many times abroad, and in various events and various things. But I can't recall as a professional playing abroad. I don't remember.
It's interesting, I talk to a lot of guys around the NBA, and they say these trips really help the teams bond and come together and move forward stronger as a unit. And so for the Chicago Bulls in particular, it's a key stage of the season because the trade deadline is looming. There's rumors all over the place.
Right.
And they managed to pick up the win. Do you think that they can use this as a springboard for the rest of their season now and actually make it to the playoffs in the East? Or do you think it might be time to look at a different direction after seeing them up close?
Well, you're talking about the Chicago Bulls.
Yes, sir.
I think they can. Chicago, they've been an interesting team. They win the games they probably shouldn't win, and they lose the games they probably shouldn't lose. They are a fascinating team that way. However, they did play well in Paris. Zach LaVine, he's really playing at a very high level. DeMar DeRozan is back, and so those guys are playing very well.
Vooch had a good game.
Yeah, Vooch did. Vooch has been very solid, for about the last month.
Do you think that it was just experience playing into a factor? Because, before the game, we were talking about Jaden Ivey, we were talking about Killian Hayes, but those guys didn't really show up.
Yeah, without question. You know what? This is one thing when you play abroad, just like playing in the All-Star game, it requires a little experience. You always have All-Star fatigue, and it's always interesting to watch the younger players who go to All-Star weekend for the very first time or their second or third year. They always come back, and there's always a fatigue once they get back, because the veterans know how to travel and they know how to say no to all of the requests. And it was so obvious to me watching Killian Hayes. I can only imagine his requests from his family and friends, his requests, because he's from, France.
Yeah.
That all the requests he's probably got from the media. And then I didn't think he was going to play well because it was just, and the travel and
The thing that made me laugh, the thing that made me laugh with Killian Hayes is everyone was like, oh, he's back in his hometown. He's not actually from Paris. I mean, he was born in France, went to live in the States, came back to France for a season while his dad played somewhere in France in the French league. Then he went to play in Florida, went to play in Germany, and then the NBA. So all of these people trying to push, they asked me on TV, how does it feel for him being in his hometown? And I didn't want to be the mood killer and say, well, it's not actually his hometown. But, shout out to him. He got through it. How cool was the intro, before the game? Because it was technically a Pistons home game, but because it was international, they brought over the Bulls announcer from the 90s. That voice must have brought you way back, and they had the Alan Parsons theme.
No, I think that was actually no. Okay, Mo, I think technically the announcer was the Detroit Pistons announcer who did the Chicago Bulls intro.
Oh, what an honor.
Yeah, so it was so weird for me because I recognized the announcer's voice and he was doing this. So I was thinking to myself, what's the odds on the Detroit Pistons, announcer doing the Chicago Bulls intro? Yeah. So I thought that was really funny for us who were, from the States and, follow those teams and, you get a chance to, know the announcers. That was kind of odd to see, but it was good. I mean, it was really good. It was actually cool to, just, it was like a little connection, a little connection in Paris for us who were, from America.
Yeah, it's so love. It was great for the fans as well to hear that, the theme song when the Bulls come out and the players be introduced. And it must have been amazing for the players. But, a lot of basketball happened while we were gone. In particular, one game had me stressed out. The Boston Celtics and the Warriors. Now, the first time they played this season, it didn't work out too well for me. And BJ always talks about statement game, and he says the Celtics let him down in these statement games. And with like 4 minutes to go in this game, I was stressed because I knew that I was hours away from a phone call from BJ saying, but the C's pulled it out, went to overtime. Jason Tatum didn't have the best game, but he stuck with it. He played, I think, 41 straight minutes and carried the Celtics to a win. Jaylen Brown had a horrible night shooting, but hit the clutch 3 to send the game to OT. But Al Horford, to start the season, we were talking about maybe he ain't got his legs, but this recent stretch of games against the Golden State Warriors, he made clutch defensive plays and offensive plays, offensive rebounds. And then yesterday against the Toronto Raptors in the early tip-off, he made some huge plays. I think it was Saturday night. I think yesterday the Raptors played the Knicks, but Saturday night, he came up huge again for the Celtics on both ends of the floor. The Celtics continue to roll. What is it, 9 in a row now, BJ? 9 in a row?
Yeah, something like that.
Do you think that they need to make any moves at this trade deadline?
Absolutely. You have to. Every day you have to look to improve your team, right? Via trade, via, from within, where we're talking about. and players have to improve, and you're always looking. So I think if they have an opportunity to pick up someone free agency or a guy who's maybe off the, the wire who gets waived, you have to constantly look. So I like the Celtics. I like their depth. I like what they're doing. However, you got to continue to look and probe out there. And right now they are in position as we head into, the trade deadline. They have a roster spot. They have a little money. And I'm sure they will be players when that moment arrives. So, they're in a good place right now to be.
Well, another team surging up the East is the Philadelphia 76ers, who have won their last 5 and they currently sit in second place. Tyrese Maxey has returned and he's playing great basketball, whether it be off the bench, whether it be in the starting lineup. And he recently signed his official sneaker deal with New Balance. Congratulations to Tyrese.
Yes.
But you think the Sixers are finally getting it together? You think Doc's finally getting all those chips lined up in the right place?
I like that. Say that again. Who's getting?
I said, do you think Doc is getting those chips lined up?
I think they're on a 5-game win streak.
They are indeed.
I think they're on a 5-game winning streak. It's been interesting. They've been bringing Tyrese Maxey off the bench. I think I watched them the last game they played versus the Sacramento Kings. They had James Harden and Joel Embiid didn't play. And they still won the game on the road. So I thought that was good. I like the Sixers. However, the one thing that I am concerned is they have 3 guys who I think are very high level offensive players. Okay. Joel Embiid is without question a top, 5, 7, wherever. He's a top player in the NBA. MVP level candidate. You have James Harden, who we know what he's done. And then we have this emerging player in Tyrese Maxey. So it's been fascinating to watch how those 3 are going to somehow try to figure this out. And right now, the best option, or what they've shown, is they're bringing Maxey off the bench, which to me has been interesting, been very interesting. He's averaging about 18, 20 points a game coming off the bench. And I think it's been a good flow. I'm just going to stick with it. You know what? You know where I stand with Philly. The JoJo is without question. He's their number 1 guy without question. However, I think Tyrese Maxey is the most important player if he plays well for them, because they have to play at a certain pace. And it's fascinating to watch them. They seem to play better when all 1 or
when all 3 of them are together.
When all 3 of them are together. That's what I was about to say.
I mean, it's not ideal, but it's a nice contingency plan to have.
You're saying, well, if one is out, they're good. It doesn't matter.
Which is weird, addition by subtraction. But the East is so volatile right now. Teams make runs, teams lose games. Like the Knicks have lost their last 4 straight, and they've dropped down to 7. The Pacers, who we were so excited about just a few weeks ago, have lost 7 in a row. They're down in 9th place. It's interesting. One team that has caught my eye is the Lakers. Great comeback win against Portland last night. I'm confident in saying that I think, even though they're currently 12th, that the Lakers can make it to the playoffs this season. I think the more I see from them, I think they've got what it takes. I don't know. Obviously, an injury to LeBron would disrail that, but hopefully that doesn't happen. But even the Western Conference is so tight right now. It's very difficult to predict. I mean, OKC are almost a 500 team. Right now, they're 11th. If they keep it rolling, they could be in the play-in. Portland have dropped right out. Dame had some interesting comments about that. They've lost their 3rd straight.
Yeah, what did he say? I watched their game. I saw they were down last night. They were down. They were up. The Lakers was down. Yeah, the Lakers were down 25 versus the Trailblazers, and came back and won that game. And I got distracted. I wanted to see the post-game comments of Dame. What did Dame say after the game?
So let me see if I can get the clip for you. But they asked him about the construction of the team. And, well, first of all, before I get onto that, Patrick Beverley trolling Dame Lillard by acting like he had a broken watch on was absolutely hilarious. Dame said to Pat Bev at the start of the game, he said, "I'll beat your ass." But, it was interesting. In terms of Dame's post-game comments, I'm just trying to pull up what he said here, and I'm going to let you listen to this.
I want us I mean, I want us to be in the best position to win. You know, my job is to play point guard and to be prepared and go out there and do what I do. And everybody has a job. And right now we're not winning. Right now we haven't been consistent. You know, but it's not my job to say who goes where or what needs to happen as far as the roster. You know, that's not my job. But what I will say is right now we're not getting it done. So you know, I do want to win. You know, I don't think it's no secret that I want to win, and you know, I think we gotta do whatever we have to do to be in a position to win. You know, I think that's the point of us showing up is to give ourselves the best chance to win. So, you know, I'm all for whatever that means. I don't think it's fair for y'all to be asking me these questions right now. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that's kind of a weak move. You know, our team is struggling, you know, and I've been transparent about our struggles and stuff that we could do better, but y'all putting me in a position to you know, answer questions that I don't think is cool, man.
Well, because a lot of this organization operates on your timeline.
I understand that. No, I understand that, but you know, there's people that you can ask those questions too. You know what I mean? And even if it is on me or whatever, they could answer your questions. So even if they did ask me a question and I gave them my opinion, you know, I'm sure they're going to give you whatever answer that they give you based on what reality is. But I'm saying I don't think it's cool for y'all to be putting me in that position, you know, especially after a tough loss, we in a tough stretch. Like, that ain't cool, you know what I mean? And I answer all y'all questions. And, you know, y'all, to me, that feels like just a lack of respect to put me in that position.
So Dame doesn't like the media asking him some of these questions. But he keeps emphasizing, I want to win, I want to win, I want to win. At what point do you think he's going to realize that's not going to happen with the Portland Trailblazers?
Well, you know, Mo, I don't want to sound like a broken record, and I want to just say this as regards. I get what Damian Lillard is saying, and he is right. But also the media has a responsibility to ask that question, because if you want to win and you don't win, well, what's going on? Okay. All right. And they're coming to the best player. And without question, he is the leader of that team, of that organization. Okay. So everything starts and stops with him. Now, let's get down to the bottom line. You know, Mo, when you talk about winning and you have the expectation to win, then you have to, you know, do more what comes with winning, and you have to take the good with the bad. And in this situation right now, when you win, you certainly should get praise. And then when you lose, they got to look at you and say, what's going on? And when you look at their roster, Mo, the roster construction is a real thing. It's a real thing. Like, and it's almost like, I don't think people really, even the players, sometimes I don't even think, you know, you call it what you want. I know the executives understand it, but to what depth and what degree you understand it, to me, determines the outcome or determines how successful your organization is. Because when you look at their organization, they have some good players on that roster. However, when you're talking about constructing a team, when you look at the league, you know, Mo, I think they are where they're sitting around 500. That's when I look at their roster, I don't think, you know, 4 or 5 games either way. I mean, it could go 4 or 5 games above 500, I think would be good for them. And they could be 4 or 5 games under 500.
Yeah, well, they're right now, they're 4 games under 500. Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think they are right in the range where they are supposed to be. I don't see much more improvement with the roster, with the team, financially where they're at. You know, Mo, that's, you know, and looking at their roster, that's what I see. I don't see much better than that.
Their best case scenario before the season even began, their best case scenario is being a first round exit, in my opinion.
I think they are right where they, you know, if you looked at the roster before, I that's what I saw. And, you know, look, Dame is a phenomenal player. I mean, he's a terrific player. But it's going to take time. They got Jeremy Grant, which was that was a really nice pickup. They have some nice players.
I like Josh Hart, Gary Payton, Anthony Simons, but like
Simons.
The thing is with
Nurkic,
Damian Lillard not being a great defender, they had this with CJ for years. CJ not being a great defender, that's just not a recipe for success. And Nurkic isn't exactly a prolific shot blocker in behind them. Now you got Simons or Simmons or whatever, however you pronounce his name, alongside Dame. And then,
right.
I don't want to, I get a lot of stick for saying Bobby Portis. So I want to make sure my pronunciations are correct. So Simmons or Simons. But, he's not exactly a great defender either. So then you've got guys like Gary Payton who come in off the bench, but you're either choosing offense or defense. And we've seen great teams, the Golden State Warriors, when Klay Thompson's healthy, he contributes on offense and on defense. The Boston Celtics, Marcus Smart contributes on offense and on defense. Milwaukee Bucks, Drew Holiday contributes on offense and on defense. So when you really look at these teams, if you don't have at least one good defensive guard in your starting lineup, you're going to be in trouble anyway. Because the NBA, you have so many high-powered guards every night coming in, the Ja Morants of the world, the Shai Gilgeous-Alexanders of the world, etc., and so on. If you don't have a guard that from the get-go can jump onto them, then you're going to be in trouble. You can't wait for Gary Payton's checking off the bench or, okay, we're going to try and hide Anthony Simons and give Josh Hart this responsibility. That's just my opinion in constructing a roster. If you're going to have a player like Dame, alongside Dame, you need a Drew Holiday, you need a Marcus Smart, you need a guy that can say, okay, you know what? I'm going to space the floor and play off the ball on the offensive side. And on defense, I'm going to take on the opposition team's best guard and I'm going to shut them down. That, for me, is the only way to win with the player like Damian Lillard. And the Portland Trailblazers have just simply never done that. So, in my opinion, until that happens, I just don't see them being the team that Lillard wants them to be.
Well, Mo, I'm a huge proponent of defense because that has to be the foundation.
It's the only way you win.
That's the only way you win. Now, Mo, it's possible to win with one player who is not in your starting lineup at any given moment, who may be considered a liability on defense. Okay, when I say considered a liability, maybe they don't have the ability to defend two or more positions, okay, in today's game because, everyone switches.
Yeah, or a player that teams
and
go after.
I can't expect Damian Lillard to guard small forwards, power forwards. No. He's not like 6'4", 6'5". So, all right. So if you're going to have Damian Lillard, who is without question your best offensive player, then you're going to have to surround him with other players as your foundational pieces on that side of the floor that's going to complement what he does well and what he doesn't do well. That to me is the puzzle. Then you bring off your bench with your depth and all the other things to keep your offense and so forth and so on. That's just, as a couch, GM, watching their team. I like their roster. I just think right now they have to figure it out. I mean, Dame, if I remember correctly, Dame missed all of last year, right? Or he missed a huge part of the season last year.
He missed time.
Yeah, he missed some time. And then, the kid Simons comes on last year and really had a terrific year.
Offensively.
I like what Coach Billups is doing. He has those guys ready. Listen, they were up 25 in the last game. Mm-hmm. So clearly the game plan was in place. Mm-hmm. Now what needs to happen is the players have to execute it. It is what it is. And you have nights like that. Unfortunately, they had one at home. And, give the Lakers credit. The Lakers hung in there and they kept chipping away at it. But you would expect a veteran. I watched that game. You would expect a veteran team to, come out, reestablish themselves in the third quarter, force the Lakers to be down big going into the fourth quarter, where the coaches say, you know what, let's just go to the next game. They just kept chipping away. And before you know it, it was they were, 12-point game. You're like, okay. Mm-hmm. It is an 8-point game. Hit a 3, it's a 5-point game. And all of a sudden now they're in a dogfight and they ended up losing that game. So I just think this team, as we're talking here, we're not talking about they lost that game last night because of offense. They have enough offense. Mm-hmm. They lost the game because they couldn't get stops on the defensive end. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that's where most of the games are won and lost, right there. And, And I just think that's something they'll have to address. But what I do like about their roster, you know, where it's not perfect, but nobody in the NBA has a perfect roster, is they are competitive though, Mo. They've had some heartbreaking losses this year. Okay. A few games where, you know, they could easily be 2, 3, 4, 5 games over 500 too. They've been that competitive. So, you know, it stinks. It hurts. However, you know what, the fact that they are competing, I think is good. And I still think they have time to make a run at it. And, Mo, winning cures a lot of, ills for a lot of teams. And I still think this team has an opportunity to make the playoffs.
Well, it's all about roster construction. And as I said to you earlier in the show, if anyone listening to this wants to join our roster and thinks they'd be a good fit to join the Hoop Genius team over here as we try to grow this podcast, make sure you get in touch, mo@hoopgenius.com. Send over why you think you'd be a good fit, any of your previous work, and what you believe you could add to the squad. BJ and I are going to be back next week. Going to take a little time off to strategize how to make this podcast even bigger and better. So make sure you enjoy the rest of your week. We apologize that you won't be getting your daily fix of the show, but I promise you that when we return, we're going to be even bigger and better than ever before. Don't want to go anywhere. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're locked in. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, everywhere you listen to your podcasts. Don't miss a beat. And until next time, get buckets.